I got it made, you never delay. You came and you paid, surveyed the property you made. Put in an offer, you didn't have to say. I got it made for real. It's been like God in here. Bitch got a grace appeal. They stick with annoying, what else am I supposed to feel? Won't you come in, put your feet up, how you waiting here? Let me back up while you do you, I'm on NFL. Check my feng shui, I can rearrange, that's a chandelier. Get a show ready where you set it
Lord,
up,
I ain't
it's a
too grand for take a whip. The girl talking gotta make them feel. I'm something special, I ain't just a vessel. I found your word was my way to heal. Now I'm outside trying to spread the message. The devil dripping, he been causing wreckage. My testimony went from declining to the upper hand, finally gave me leverage. What I felt was a stretch, it led to agility. You were the balance, I needed stability. Or the allure, spirit so pure, from Father to Son like the holiest Trinity. Open arms, I receive the blessings. In every lesson, hope to see progression. The more you lead me to community, the more I see a need for intercession. Gotta pray for him.
I'll be your temple, I'll be your sanctuary. You can come dwell here, won't you come and fill me? Jesus, have your way.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Fly Show, where the Fly stands for First Love You. And you know, it's your girl, yours truly, Jasmine D. Millage. And as you can see, I am not by myself. I have been waiting for this moment. I have been sending out some details, sharing some reels and some videos about this episode on tonight. So before I get into who our guests are, again, welcome to the Fly Show, where the Fly stands for First Love You. If you are not following us, make sure you like, share, subscribe, share this out on your pages, share this in your groups with your friends. Get them on the fly, get them in the Fly Lounge, y'all. We over here growing, healing, and walking in our God-given purpose to be who He has created us to be. And tonight we are diving into a powerful and much needed conversation about grief, healing, and the silent struggles that so many men face. Y'all see, I'm the eyeball in the group. I'm the only female on the night, but I'm not intimidated. I'm excited about it. So, as we have here some phenomenal authors of the book called Men Grieve Too. It is a groundbreaking book that sheds the light on the often overlooked journey of male grief. Because we know that in the world, it teaches men to be strong, suppress their pain, suffer in silence. But we have some men here that are breaking barriers, offering a voice to those who have been left and felt unheard. Through their own experiences and wisdom that they have each gained, they're helping people to navigate through loss with honesty, courage, and grace. All right. So I am introducing to you all Mr. DeQuincy, Mr. Damon. I call him Jay, and my man Will. Good evening, gentlemen. If you are not unmuted, make sure you unmute and let everybody know how you're doing on this evening. Can y'all hear me?
Hey. Yeah. Yes. How you doing?
How you doing?
Good
Doing
evening.
all right. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Okay, so now, me being a woman, you know, we try to think that we got men figured all out, right? We try to act like we know y'all, and you know, men so simple, da 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 da. I, for one, beg to differ, okay, just a little bit, you know, because I feel like there is a complexity in each individual person, right? Men and women included. So, writing this book called, you know, Men Grieve Too is giving a voice to so many men that feel like they don't have no room to be heard, no space to be heard, no space to be open and honest about how they feel, their feelings, dealing with loss, dealing with grief. And it's not necessarily dealing with death, because grief comes in so many facets, right? It could be the loss of a relationship, the loss of a job, you know, the loss of a car that you once loved so much, you know, anything can be classified in the realm of grief. So my first question, and I'm going to start with Damon, because you just hands ready to go. All right. My first question is if your grief had a voice, what would it say that you have been too afraid to acknowledge?
Hmm. That's a very good question. If my grief had a voice, what would it say it was afraid to acknowledge? Uh, Probably that it exists. The reason why I say that is, and you alluded to it earlier, we're not allowed to have, we as men are not allowed to have feelings. In essence, we can have feelings for the woman that we're with. We're allowed to have feelings for our children. We're allowed to have feelings for our family, but individual feelings, generally speaking, we are not. It's frowned upon. So we're not allowed to be sad. We're not allowed to be angry. We're not allowed to feel pain individually. So as a man, being able to just even truthfully acknowledge our grief, to say it exists, um, that to me is probably one of the biggest issues, is
Mm-hmm.
that we're afraid to acknowledge that we need to go through grief.
Mm.
I I have, you know, I've been labeled as a grief advocate at this point. And when people ask me what is a grief advocate, it's what it says. I advocate for people to go through grief, because if you don't go through the grief process, you'll never get past or move forward.
Mm-hmm.
But again, as men, us being kind of put in certain boxes, we're not allowed to grieve. We're not even allowed to acknowledge the grief. We're just supposed to suck it up, deal, and move forward.
Right.
So that would be my answer.
So okay, and I'm gonna jump to Will. Because something Damon just said, kind of brings me to a question. Men are, being told to suck it up. Boys don't cry. Men don't cry. Da 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 da. How how do you feel as a society we can break the systematic mentality of men are not supposed to show their emotion? How do you feel is a way for us to break that?
We got to start showing our men that got boys. We got to start showing our sons that, like I used to show my son, affection. I used to tell him I love him. I used to, I hug him, I give him a kiss on the cheek. I showed him affection and showed him it's okay. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to show what what you feeling or how your emotions. And I used to tell them, like, when they cry, I used to tell them, look, don't just cry because your mom tell you no or I tell you no, or you can't have what you want. Cry for a reason. Cry. I can see if something really hurting you. Cry. Let it out. But don't just cry to be crying just because you want your way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That don't make no sense. But if more men out there, fathers, just start teaching the sons more about expressing their feelings and showing how they feel, then they won't bottle up so much anger and hurt and contentment inside them that when they go out in the world, they have to feel like they got to pick up a gun and do
Mm,
stuff like that to hurt somebody else because they so hurt.
right.
They'll be able to talk their situations out and resolve them issues where they won't come to that. But they don't know how to express themselves. They don't know how to do it, so they just use anger and frustration and the violence to show how they feel or what they want to do. But they don't. Nobody talks no more. Everybody
Right.
just scared to be like I said earlier. Everybody's scared. A lot of guys scared to take a L, but they don't know sometimes the in that loss is really your strength. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Because that'll show you where you at in life and what you need to work on, where you need to get, because you just did something that could have cost you life, but you just took a L in the fight. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
You ain't nobody has
Or
to
you
lose.
throw your hands up and get whooped one time.
Yeah, you just take that. That's good. Everybody walk away. But if you use a gun, that's two lives gone at once.
That's true.
You taking a person life, then you going to prison for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That don't
And
make
and, and
sense.
it's and it's affect it also not only affects just the two lives lost, but the two legacies that are lost, the two
Yeah.
families that are now burying, or losing some people at such an early age. And
Hmm.
for, just kind of going into, y'all making me think a lot. The Quincy, just listening to what Will is saying, how do you feel even now with the where our young men are, how do you feel we can reach these young men? Because sometimes we feel like, we feel like they're so far gone, or there's no, these, they call them YNs, you know what I mean? Like, how do you feel we can reach someone in your generation, can get to someone that's in the younger generation? What do you feel like some things that we can do?
I mean, first we have to be open to admit our struggles. We have to be, leadership by example. We have to be open to, admit our struggles, our shortcomings, things we've grieved over. And then, like Will said, we have to show these young men it's okay to show affection. It's okay to, you know, cry for a reason. It's it's okay to be, I guess the term now is emotionally intelligent or emotionally vulnerable. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay
Mm-hmm.
because
Absolutely.
we're human. We have
Right.
emotions. We have feelings. And if we don't get in touch with those feelings and keep it bottled up, that's when the negative things that Will was talking about happen. Go out here, grab a gun, want to lash out. Um, like I always say, hurt people hurt people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And even if you don't go out and grab a gun, you'll take it out on somebody that's supposed to be close to you, like a relationship or your kids. So we have to be, as older men, we have to be examples to the younger men. It's okay to show affection. It's okay to say I'm hurt. It's okay not to be okay. It's just not okay not to stay in that situation. You have to
Mm-hmm.
find a voice. You have to, you know, and that's where we as older men come in to the younger men. We have to be ears to listen to their struggles, to their problems, because we were once younger ourselves, and we might not have. I guess the new term is crashed out like they doing nowadays, but we
Mm-hmm.
had our shortcomings and we had our downfalls. So we have to be open ears and be ready to share our examples with these young men.
Right. That's a good thing, because that also opens up so many ways for a young man to understand that you don't have to take life's trials and tribulations and equate it to anger, or, like you said, the Quincy, crashing out, or lashing out, or whatever the case may be. But there's a word that is being used, just like narcissistic is like red, white, blue, purple, and you hear on a consecutive basis. And I've heard it already tonight, vulnerable. So many people, use the word vulnerable, in so many situations and in conversations. Vulnerable means you're putting yourself in the position, basically. You're opening yourself up for attack. Okay. Why is it that you feel, do you feel like that's the reason why men feel like they can't be open, is because they know, or they're so used to being attacked, or they're so used to being looked at and ridiculed because you're opening yourself up? Do you think that's why men, why it's so hard for men to open up? I'm gonna start with you on that one, Jay.
Yeah, it is hard because you go through a situation, and when you do express your vulnerability, a lot of people look at you like maybe you're soft, look at you like, you have a problem, where in reality, they don't understand that you're just trying to express yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's difficult to find the right person that can understand that. And it's like, usually we go to family or we go to friends, and they don't understand the pain that we're going through. So when we do explain it, it seems like it's a complaint versus a cry for help.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, because people look at us sideways when we do ask for help in that vulnerability, we just shut down. We just say, "All right, you know what? That's it."
and we internalize the problems that we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, that creates what I call a pressure cooker effect, because you're holding it in so much, and then when somebody says something, you turn around and explode
Yep.
because you've been holding in the situation for so long. And
Mm-hmm.
then when somebody tells you something that is remotely reminiscent of what you're feeling, your thought process is, I've been trying to tell you that, but you have not been listening. And then
Mm-hmm.
you explode.
Mm-hmm.
So I
So
think, oh, I'm
go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead.
No, no, no. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so really what it comes down to is the fact that people need to hear instead of just listening. They got to hear what's going on. And when they hear what's going on, instead of coming with some type of quick solution, maybe stand with that person for a second and just say, I'm here for you. If you need to let it out, let it
Mm-hmm.
out.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So going back to Damon, um, what is the most painful thing in your loss or in your grief that initially you did not allow yourself to fully feel?
It was the most painful thing. I didn't allow myself to feel, period. And I say that because I had a 10-year-old son that I needed to make sure was going through his grieving process. I had
Mm-hmm.
family members and friends and stuff like that who loved my wife, and that's the backstory of it is that I lost my wife to COVID a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I became a widow, as well as my son became lost his mom all in the
Right.
same breath. My late wife was one of those types of people who she touched many, 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 many lives.
Mm-hmm.
So when she lost her life, and it affected a lot of people. So, and me being the person I am, I'm more of a caretaker myself. So I'm trying to make sure everybody else is taken care of. And I didn't allow myself to feel the loss.
Right.
That didn't happen for me for probably about a good month and a half after
Mm,
she passed away.
okay.
So, because again, I was trying to take care of everybody else, especially this 10-year-old little boy
Mm-hmm.
who one minute would seem like he's fine, running around. Next minute he's crying. Next minute he wants to hug up. Next minute he's like, okay, I'm hungry now. And it's like he's back to normal. And
Right.
I'm having to walk him through that grief process as well as mom, sister, friends, family members, stuff like that. So it took a while for me to get to me
Mm-hmm.
as far as me going through my process.
Got it. And for you, Will, what would you say it took for you to finally sit in your grief and to give yourself permission to feel your grief?
Um, after what? It was after everything was over with. After the family people coming by the house in the beginning, and then after the funeral and all of that, all the arrangement, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like when everything just after all that went through all that, and I, you know, was able to make sure everybody else was good. Like he said, you try to make sure everybody else straight. I had another son, I had a daughter, I had other kids I had to check on, just to make sure that they was good.
Right.
And And I was like, I wanted to make sure they was, they understood the process of what was going on, and seeing was they feeling okay. And then once I did all that and I got to my house and I finally was like, didn't have to go be and check on nobody. That's when, it hit me and all of just, I don't know, it just crashed down. And I was like, so I didn't want to go through it and keep reliving that pain. So I try to numb it out, try to block it,
Mhm.
try to use alcohol and all this other stuff, trying to numb the pain, thinking that I can self-medicate to get it. I can, just smoke a couple of blunts. This will stop it, this will stop me from
Mhm.
feeling. But it didn't. As soon as I come off of that, what I'm saying, I'm back, you know, miserable, you know,
Right.
back in that hole. And it's like, and it was like but I didn't realize I was going in a hole. I thought I was good. I thought I was managing everything. I just didn't want to, I ain't had nobody to talk to, I really didn't.
Mhm.
Being that, when you go through something like that, you're a little angry at the time with God, so you really don't pray as much no more. And that's the thing. Like I had to, I didn't allow myself to give it to no one, to say anything. I just thought that I was gonna do it for myself, but turns out, what I'm saying, I kept thinking that it was gonna be, me finding my way, but God see that I was, still, won't coming out, and He was like, okay. He said he gave me one chance, then and that didn't work. He was like, okay, and then you open your eyes that way,
Mhm.
open your eyes a different way. So it got me into a situation where I had to make a choice, either straighten up and realize I got to, you know, find a way to get this pain and all this out of me, or I'm gonna keep going through some, what I'm saying, I'm gonna take myself further. And I let that demon just pull me and keep thinking I was good, but all in all I won't. So once I started getting serious about the issue and getting things right, that's when I turned the opposite direction. Was like, you know what, I got to get back and start going back to church and get God and let Him do some damage to me because I haven't damaged myself enough. Now let
Yeah.
let Him do a little damage of trying to straighten me back out. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause I don't
Yeah.
beat myself up. I don't. I done went out there and just you know what I'm saying, fell on my face and everything. It was just like I was basically about to just give up because it took a lot out of me.
Right.
That happened to my little boy. So it was like it took a whole lot out of me. It took everything in me just to stand. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I was standing all my life for everybody else, but at that moment, I had nobody to stand for me. And it was when you fall like that and you don't have nobody to hold on to,
Mhm.
that's a hard hit to take. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? You taking all that pressure. It ain't like it's an uncle or older granddad or something. It was a little boy, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
So it's like nothing prepare you for it, but it's like, you know, I was looking at me that it was like it was at first I thought it was my fault. I thought that I didn't do something right, or I didn't lead him right, or I didn't say the right thing, you know what I'm saying? But then it was like I finally got to see that I did all that I could do. I said all that I could say. I tried it
Mhm.
the right way. I tried to tell him the things to look out for as friends,
Right.
but I guess, the devil was a more slicker than me, you know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
that was
Mhm.
me by slipping past me to my, you know what I'm saying, and couldn't get to me, so he got to my son.
Yeah.
He knew that
Yeah.
was the way to get to me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because he couldn't get me, I didn't trust a lot of people, so I didn't let a lot of people around me. But
Mhm.
he went to my boy and
Mhm.
brought, brought demons with him, around
Right.
him, when he
Right.
thought they was friends, but they really wanted friends.
Right.
He wound up, setting him up. So it's like, that's how he got at me. He thought that he'll bring me down that way, and he almost did. The
Yeah.
devil almost did it.
Yeah.
God be the glory. It ain't work. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
You know, God's always gave me open a door for me to walk through, and I just stepped back through the door and just like I'm not going that route no more.
Yeah.
That road was taking me. It was about to
Right.
take down. I was going to either wind up in prison or somewhere. On the grave because I was because I was drinking so much that I was in Virginia Beach, and I just was ready to go that drinking at night, and was gonna go the next day and go get in the go to the beach and get in the water.
Mm,
And I'm like, I think God saw that and was like, nah, I can't let you do that. So he had
yeah.
to cause an incident that night to make sure
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
that won't go happen. So the
Yeah.
next day, by the time everything happened and I came out of there, it was we went on back up the highway. So it never got to the water. So
Right. And
everything
see, it's a thing where we try to say, or we plan what we gonna do in our head, never knowing whatever plan God may have, whatever story our testimony, we don't know what the reason why we go through so many things. We have to deal with loss, we have to deal with grief, we have to deal with losing, and different things like that. And so it's like we often come to a position to where we feel like you said, I just, I'm out of here. I can't do this. I don't want to do it. I don't want to deal with this no more. Life for me as I know it is now over. But sometimes what we feel like is the end is the beginning of exactly where God wants you to be at. So it's
else.
like he will set up a divine intervention in a way that may make you mad. Like, okay, I'm trying to take myself up out of here. I don't want to be here no more. Okay, hold that thought. You sit right there. You don't want to be here, but I'm gonna take you somewhere where I really need you to be at, because there is someone that needs to hear how I'm about to take you out of the thing that you're trying to run away from. Somebody needs to hear how to get out of that same situation. So for you, I'm gonna jump to DeQuincy real quick. Um, what part of yourself do you see differently now? You know, having to go through your grieving process. What do you see different now in yourself?
I see the me I should have seen when I was out there going through what I was going through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a stronger, more talented individual. I can handle grief and loss better now. Um, I just I see myself as a more focused and more determined individual, having gone through the situations that I went through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's, you know, my message to men. We go through things, but are we just going through it or are we growing through it?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't learn a lesson, if you don't grow through your situation, then that situation was for naught. So I would tell men, go through whatever it is that's been put in front of you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
yes, it may hurt. Yes, it may force you to take a long look in the mirror at some things that you don't want to see in yourself. But there's another side to that. There's a side where you're gonna look back and you're gonna understand the why of what happened.
Mm-hmm. So in Jay, just jumping down a little bit, in writing Men Grieve Too, were there any emotions or memories that you thought you had buried that came back to surface while writing this book?
Abs- Absolutely. I mean, uh, my wife passed away, and a big part of my chapter was talking about that. And what was interesting was you tried to bury it. I tried to hide it because, not hide it, but I tried to hold it down because I knew it was one of those real heavy emotional things. But, you know, once I started writing, I realized that it needed to come out because there are a lot of men that are going through certain situations and they may have lost someone special. They need to be able to have that conversation with someone who's been there and done that, or be able to understand that it's okay for them not to be okay. That it's okay for them to have that point of, like you said earlier, vulnerability. And for me, it was just like when I had the chance to write, I was able to say to myself, okay, these things happened. I need to make sure that I was open and honest about it, because it can it can help someone else to be able to navigate through their particular grief journey.
Right. So there is, a said difference between moving forward and moving on. Damon, what does true healing look like for a man who wants to honor his loss without feeling like he's leaving that loved one behind?
Hmm. Man, these are good questions here. All right. Um, for me,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I would say with the loss of my wife, being able to be in a place to entertain uh, being with another person without feeling the guilt,
Mm,
without feeling, oh, I'm I'm cheating on my wife, without feeling like I have to compare the two.
right.
And I'll use my personal situation as an example. Um, I have since remarried,
Okay.
and I was actually having a conversation with a friend of mine, and before I even started dating, my son was asking me about dating, and he was for it because he wanted that mom energy in the house again.
Mm,
And I was like, look, nah, I wasn't ready for it.
mhm,
But I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine, and he said to me, and I've taken this and I've even used this with men that I speak to now. He said, you're always gonna love Mona. Always will.
mhm,
Where you need to get to in that place, since that is your loss, is that you need to be able to get to a place where you can entertain and be with someone and not try to have to compare the two, not be feeling in a place of I'm dishonoring that person by being with this person. Um, that's the place that you need to be at. You can never say I'll stop loving Mo because she was your wife, and that's what you're supposed to do. But you should be able to move forward, move on, whichever terminology we want to use, and still have a healthy relationship without comparing. Now, once you get to that point, you're good. If you're not at that point, then you don't need to try to be doing anything with another individual.
mhm,
Now, that's in that particular form of loss. There may be similar situations and other losses, forms of loss, but that's in that particular form of loss.
right. And so, how do you, in losing a child, hearing from Damon and Jay, losing their spouse, Will, for you losing your son, um, what do you feel or what do you believe is the most unspoken cry from a parent that has lost their child? Because there are so many things that you can't you put in words. What is something that you realize within yourself that you couldn't find the voice for it to let it out, to say, I'm grieving, because time passes, people see you moving like, everything is normal. You may go back to work, you know, functioning, you're laughing, you're smiling, you're joking. How do you allow that unheard grief? How do you make that be known?
I never talked about my grief to no one, not even my mother. You know what I'm saying? I never talked to no one about it. Writing this book was the first time that I ever said anything about it. You know what I'm saying? I just was letting God work on me. After that, it was like just letting God work on me. But I guess God didn't want it that way. He was like, it's time for you to let out what you was feeling. And that was this book came in point. I never talked about nothing since that day. I haven't said a word because there wasn't nobody to talk to. My best friend is my cousin. My cousin ain't around right now for me to be able to talk to him. But when he come back, now if he was here, it would have been different. I would have talked to him.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not here, so I couldn't talk to nobody, and I didn't trust no one to talk to like that because I didn't trust everybody with knowing my business, what I felt, because I ain't had time for somebody to go behind my back and people that I don't know knowing something about me because I don't do that. I mean, I keep my circle small, but I got friends now that I can trust. So
Mm-hmm.
I got
Mm-hmm.
friends now that if I say something to them or talk to them about something, I don't have to worry about people I don't know knowing about. If anything go on, they're gonna tell me, "Hey, this person want to collab with you and talk to you. Do you mind if they get in touch with?" And I'll let them know. Yeah, that's cool. But and they pray with me. They talk to me. They communicate. They support me. I got real friends now, but I didn't have that then. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I had people only came around me because I was either wanting to party up or, go hang out, do stuff like
Uh-huh.
that.
Right.
They weren't around me for no come in my house and tomorrow, hey man, let's pray. No, it won't none of that.
Yeah.
It won't none of that
So
going on.
So, as men, and this is going to be this is an open question for everybody. Whoever jump on it, jump on it. As men, why is it so? I'm trying to see how to form the question because listening to y'all, it makes me think. And Will just brought up a point like not having people that I trust, not having people around you that pray with you, that talk to you, that you can be open with. Why is it that? Because sometimes one incident can make a man shut down from everybody. One incident, like you tell a lie, or you say you were gonna come pick me up and you don't show up, you stole my money, or whatever. Why is it that it's so hard for men to be in a situation and it shuts them down from everybody? Why is that? Okay, Jay, you unmuted.
Because
Let me know. Or the queen,
You know,
one.
Come on, Jay. Come on, Jay.
I mean, really, it seems like it's simple. When somebody hurts you,
Uh-huh.
you don't want to deal with anybody because you
Mhm.
don't know who is on your side. You feel like
Mhm.
everybody is about to put a knife in your back, especially when you decide to trust one person. When you trust somebody and they let you down,
Mhm.
your assumption is that everybody's gonna let you down.
Yep.
So you just close up like a clam, and you just be like, you know what? You do, like what Will said. You just keep it all to yourself because
Mhm.
you don't look. You don't want it to happen again.
Yeah.
So
Uh, I'll I'll jump. I'm going to tag in
Yeah.
on
Tag in,
Jay
Damon.
too.
Come on. Come on.
Tag me in, Coach. No, um, I want to take that just even a step further, and hey, I think the root of it goes into the fact that again we're not told to be emotional. So when we trust someone, that's us being emotional. When we put trust in an individual, that's us opening up. That's us being vulnerable to that person. And those are things that we're not taught to do. So when somebody uh does not take care of that trust, does not take care of that openness, does not take care of that vulnerability, we're like, okay, I tried to let you in and you did me dirty. No matter what's big or small or whatever, it could be something as you said you was gonna bring me my $50 and I needed that $50, but you ain't even called me back when I called you. That was a break in trust.
Right.
I trusted you to give you the money, and I opened myself up and I allowed myself to be vulnerable and saying, okay, I'm gonna hand this man over my whatever it is, if even if it's my last 50, because he's saying he gonna give that back to me on Friday. And when he don't even answer a phone call when I call for it, that's a broken trust.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's about, I think the root of it is about us trying to be emotional, but when we do it, we're basically screwed over in us trying to be emotional. And that's why we shut back down
Mm-hmm.
and look to protect ourselves.
Mm. So it's like that shutdown can sometimes, you know, it bottles up so much inside of y'all to the point to where it can even get you to a point of self-destruction, because it's like I'm not trusting you just that much to where I'm willing to sacrifice myself just so you won't sacrifice or hurt me. It's like I know me enough that I can trust me to hurt my own self, but I'm not willing to let you even in a sliver to give you the opportunity to do anything to me. So how can you recognize that you are to that breaking point to where you're, you holding so much in to where you don't like people and your grief is getting heavy to the point of something so dark that you're isolated, you in here by yourself. How do you come up out of that hole? How do you come up out of that shell? How do you open yourself up to start trusting not just people but one person? How do you do that as a man? How can you do that? Let's go to Quincy because he look like he ready to go.
You have to get in touch with what's inside of you first.
Mm-hmm.
You have to look. You have to take that long look in the mirror and scream, cry, pray, do whatever it is to pull that up out of you first. Because if you can't trust yourself, you'll never be able to trust anybody that's not you. And like you said, you can trust yourself to hurt yourself enough to where you don't need to let anybody else in.
Mm-hmm.
But the healing process starts when you can look at yourself and honestly say, I'm in a bad headspace right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't trust anybody. I'm not letting anybody in. Whatever happens, happens. And so once you can have that conversation with yourself and do what you need to do for you, then I would say take it one person at a time. Find somebody that you can trust. And you don't have to share the whole story with them. Just give them small bits and pieces. But open up and begin to let it out.
Mm-hmm.
Because by letting that stuff up and holding it in, it's like the title of my chapter is Wounded Lion. And I base that on the fact that a wounded lion will lash out at anything that it sees as a threat because it's wounded.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And hurt people. So you have to take those steps to reflect on what caused your hurt, what caused the traumatic experience in your life. Open up with yourself first. And then, like I said, take it a step further and find that one person that you feel is trustworthy enough to start letting them in a little at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Okay.
with men, vulnerability is a hard road to go down because we hate to be vulnerable. And I think a lot of it has to do with fear of rejection
Mhm.
and fear of being hurt.
Mhm.
So when we open up to that one person, if we see they're trustworthy, we'll open up to them more, and that'll begin the steps to the healing process.
Okay. That's a
I want
that's good. That's good. Go ahead, Jay.
Okay.
now I wanted to ride in on what the Quincy was saying. You know, the first thing you got to do is, like you said, you got to have your own come to Jesus moment first.
Mm.
You you have to get right with yourself,
Mhm.
because in order to get right with yourself, that is the first step to healing. That will
Mhm.
allow you to find that person that you feel will be able to give you that kind of support. But it starts when you can take the first initial steps, gather your own strength, and once you
Mhm.
do, you'll find that person that will meet you halfway.
Mhm. Okay. This is gonna be my next to last question. And this is for Will. Well, I'm gonna start with Will. Okay. If if you as a little boy could see you grieving as the man that you are right now, what do you think that little boy would say, and how would you respond to him?
Knowing me as a little kid and me talking to me, I'm gonna be like, ask what's wrong. And when they tell me like they hurt, I'm gonna be like, I probably would have told him it's okay because I was a good kid. When I was younger, when I was a little kid, I was worried, like I always have been. I always all my life I've been worried about other people more than myself. So I
Mhm.
probably would have worried for me if I would have seen myself like that. I probably been worried for me and probably would have been like trying to, saying, cheer them up, try to joke or make a smile, make them laugh or something like that. It would have
Mhm.
been that type of thing because that's how I was when I was younger. I just try to make people laugh and so they won't be so stuck up or hard or they break it all up. I just used to try to make people smile, put a smile on their face. So that's
Mhm.
most likely what I would have did because I won't know. I won't no violent kid. I won't none of that when I was little. I just like to have fun, like to be, be cool.
Right.
But as time went over the years, it's just like I started watching how a lot of friends, the people that say they're friends, how it's so easy for them to turn it back, they
Mhm.
switch up on you. And I saw it at a young age, what I'm saying? Even family members, what I'm saying? I saw this when I was like 11 years old. And
Mhm.
then when I started getting older, it was like seeing how girlfriends do the same thing, and it's just like it just made me to the point where I gotta watch who I trust because I was a person that opened heart to everybody, but now it's like nah, I got to be, I had to start being a little strict on that.
Gotta be selective. Right.
Yeah, I had
Mhm.
to cut my circle down to a little bit because some people try to get in your circle and then try to switch up or try to tell out your business or try to bring other like I'm gonna tell you this. It was a group of us friends at work, right? It was just a few of us, like about seven. We all used to go out to eat, stuff like that.
Mhm.
When it was somebody's birthday, we'll help celebrate their birthday and give them presents, whatever. So one of the friends, she wanted to bring in this dude, and nobody knew who this guy was. And I'm like, who is this? I'm looking at the paper like, who is this? And she was like, oh, that's KV. I'm like, who is KV? You know what I mean? Who is this guy? Nobody knew who he was. So,
Right.
and me, I didn't have no, I didn't know the guy, but I just didn't. And then when he came around, it's just something about him, it was something off. And
Mhm.
I said, well, look, you want to deal with him, that's cool, but I ain't going to rock with him like that. I said, but if you deal with him, that's cool. Next thing I know, it came to find out this dude was, he had a little bit of that, we'll throw you under the bus. He threw some people under the bus in front of everybody. And I said, I told y'all it was going to happen. I told you something was funny about this guy. I told him, and this man snitched on all of them. They was inside of a circle group. and all of us over there. And next thing I know, when they came out that group together, I said, man, he snitched on everybody. So it's like sometimes you just can't let some people in your circle, man, because some people will try to pull other people into your circle and try to
Mhm.
bring it bad. And I'm not like that. You can't just slide somebody in on me. I'm too cautious for that. You know,
Right.
I still
Yeah.
drive like I'm still in the streets. You know what I'm saying? I be watching cars. They follow me too much time. I get, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I'm making sure, hey, you following me or you just going the same way I'm going, you know.
Right. Right.
So
I do that now. I ain't never been in the streets, but I'm like that. I'm very aware of my surroundings, like for real. Like
yeah,
I
I
said,
still
it's not
comment.
a lot that can sneak past me. If you
You
get
make
past,
more than three
dude,
turns like me. Oh yeah,
yeah,
I can see what's going on.
you're doing too much. Right. I'm the
Yeah.
same way. So, and okay, same question for you. I'm gonna jump to you, Jay. If same question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Listen, I as a little kid, like Will was saying, yeah, I was one of the real nice kids. I was always trying to help somebody, type of thing. So again, I probably would have approached my older self like, "What's wrong with you? What's going on?" You know, and because the reality is, as a kid, you want to help people. You
Mm-hmm.
hopefully you want to help people, and and if you see your older self, you definitely want to find out what's what's wrong, what's happening, and then you want to see what you can do to help them out. So I would have come to our older self like, you know, what's going on? What can I do to help you out? I mean, I'm gonna be you in 20 years. So, you know what I'm saying? Let's find out what the situation is and let's figure out how we can work around it and navigate through it, and kind of
Right.
go on that route.
Yeah.
Just simply figuring out what the deal is.
And so for Damon, I want Damon and DeQuincy to answer the latter part of that. Okay, because we know as a kid, most kids, as they just said, we want to make sure, we like to entertain, we like to play, we like to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
But and this is before laws. This is before the world, chews you up and spits you out as a little boy, becoming a man. This is before all of that.
Right.
You being the man that you are right now, if your little boy, who you are as a little boy, were to come to you, now that you've dealt with everything, how would you respond to that little boy and letting him know what grief is about? How would you cultivate that little boy? Or would you?
Okay. So for me, um, I am a Christian, and so I would try to root him in Christ. I would do my best to strengthen him more uh, in his relationship with Christ.
Mhm.
Just because me being who I am now, I know he's going to need him. I know he's going to need him, and even outside of me losing my wife, I, I'm 50 years old. That's not that's the only time, not the only time I've had to deal with major grief.
Mhm.
So knowing who I am now, that's just the most recent. I'll say that much. Tackle of grief that I've had to go through in my life, or major tackle of grief that I've had to go through in my life. Knowing all of that I know now, that would probably be my biggest thing is to try to build in him a stronger relationship in Christ so that when those times come, there aren't going to be the times where you run away. There aren't going to be the times where you get angry with God. Because I've had some times where I got angry with God,
Mhm.
was furious when I lost my wife. And so yeah, that would be the thing that I would try to do with him is to root him in Christ more so that when the trials and tribulations come, uh, he wouldn't be shooken as much.
That makes a lot of sense. And the same for you as well, DeQuincy.
Okay, well, being the man that I am now, my grief experience actually happened when I was a young child. It was the
Mm-hmm.
divorce of my parents.
Mm-hmm.
And so looking back at the things that I did as a younger man, I agree with Damon. I would try to tell my younger self to hold on to the belief that I had
Mm-hmm.
in the church, in Christ, because what you're going through now seems hard, but it's worth it in the
Right.
end.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I 100% agree with Damon. Rooting the younger me, and because church played a big part in my upbringing. After my parents divorced, I was raised with my grandparents, and my grandfather was a preacher. So,
Mm.
preacher's grandkid, I was in church Sundays, Wednesdays, youth meetings on Saturdays, and I
Conference,
in
all that.
conferences, all that,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I enjoyed it. But I got to a point where, admittedly, I walked away. I started
Mm.
wanting to be one of the guys and hanging out and getting into things that I knew were wrong. So what Damon said made a lot of sense. Going through what I went through, if I could have held on a little tighter to how my grandparents raised me, I think I would have avoided a lot of the mistakes that I made in dealing with my grief. So I would
Mm-hmm.
tell my younger self to hold on to the values that are being instilled in you, even
Right.
after going through what you've gone through, with your parents divorcing and, you having to deal with dad over here, mom over here, you're living
Mm-hmm.
with your grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because it was all for the best.
Yeah.
It worked out for the best.
Right.
I had a lot of love. My grandparents instilled a lot of values in me that I still hold on to now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yes, I've made my mistakes, but as men, we all have. But one
Mm-hmm.
thing that I learned from my grandparents, because both of them were people. Like they didn't meet strangers; they met opportunities. And I think I learned more so how to be vulnerable from watching the things that my granddad went through as a pastor in dealing with some of the things that I saw him deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So me talking to the younger me as the man I am now, I would definitely tell them that the adversity is worth it because when you get to the other side, you'll be able to look back and understand, more so why things had to happen the way they happened.
Right.
And I would also try my best to get the younger me to avoid some of the pitfalls and some of the things that I went through.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess in going through certain situations, even the bad is worth it if you learn something from it.
Mm-hmm. That is so true. That is so true. And that brings me to, I don't even want to end this, but this brings me to my last and final question. Okay. And we're gonna go around. I'm gonna stick with you, DeQuincy. I'm gonna want you to go first. And
Okay.
then after the Quincy, I want Jay, and then after Jay, Damon, and we're gonna shut it down with Will. Okay. If your book was in the hand of a person, a man, standing at the edge of his breaking point, on the verge of just losing it all, what would be your piece of advice that you would give this gentleman in his darkest hour?
In your darkest hour,
Mhm.
that's when you define who you truly are. because there are two things that you're gonna do, and this is something that me and my best friend talk about a lot. You either gonna fight the fire, or you gonna hit the fence. You either gonna jump the fence, or you gonna stand and fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I would tell him, no matter how dark it looks, standing and fighting is worth it because everything in life is a battle. Marriage, raising kids, going to work, there are battles in everything we do as men in this world. So I would tell him to stand, fight, pray, take that long look in the mirror, have those dark conversations with yourself that nobody knows about until you come out of whatever you're in. Because the end result will work for your good. No matter what it is you're going through, no matter what it is you're facing, no good can come out of giving up. Because when you give up, that's when it's just over.
Mm-hmm.
So my piece of advice would be it's okay to not be okay. It's just not okay to stay that way.
That's some good advice. All right, Jay, your turn.
I, if someone was holding a copy of my book, right, and said they were at their darkest point, the first thing I say to them is, you have something, you have 8 testimonies of men that met their darkest period and found out how to navigate through. You're not alone. Realize you're not alone. And the way you feel right now is understandable. But like the Quincy just said, you can't stay that way. You have to figure out how to navigate through. Now, right now, it's ugly.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're looking to do something to yourself or put yourself in a situation, you don't realize how the other side can be. Remember, even a bad day alive is better than a good day dead. Understand that hopefully, hopefully, you can see that and understand again that you're not the only one. Right now in your hand, you have 8 testimonies of men have felt what you're feeling right now. You know, take a look, read through those chapters before you make a decision to do something and go from there.
All right, Damon.
Okay, so like I said, I've been told at this point that I'm a grief advocate. I'm not a
Mm-hmm.
counselor or anything like that. Um, and I've had the opportunity in the midst of this. I've had the opportunity to be able to talk to men and um, kind of walk with some men. And there's 4 things and that I usually will tell a man, no matter what, where they are, and it's all connected to actually going through the grief process. But number one, just like the Quincy said, and he always beats me to the punch when we're talking. But the number one thing is it's okay not to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
It is okay not to be okay. Uh, a lot of us, and I know I've done it. Will has talked about doing it. We just kind of chuck through, and we didn't allow ourselves to feel, and we just dealt with it, and we didn't give ourselves the opportunity to not be okay because we for whatever reason it's okay not to be okay. So that's number one. Number two, is to go through the grief process because without grieving, you can't heal. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a and I just made this connection. There's a great animated movie that came out a few years ago. I'm going to say it is called Inside Out,
Mm-hmm.
and it talks about the inner workings of this 12-year-old girl
Mm-hmm.
and her emotions. One is happy, one is anger, one is I think envy or whatever, but one of them is sadness. And happy, it keeps on trying to push sadness away and not let sadness do its job. But it wasn't until sadness was actually able to do its job as far as allowing the young girl to be sad for a moment that that young lady was able to move forward. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the grieving process. That's part of the grieving process of loss. So uh definitely go through the grieving process. Number three, don't let anybody tell you what your grieving process is supposed to be, because your grieving process is going to be unique because of the loss that you've had. Versus some, so you can't let somebody say, "Oh, well, I thought you would have been over it." No, my grieving process is my grieving process. Just like their grieving process for a particular situation would be their grieving process. So that's number three. And number four, finally, uh, don't be a don't be afraid to accept help. I tell people in a minute, I had a great village when I went through my grief process that held me up, that did pray for me, that did sit down and talk with me, that did pull me out of the house when I didn't want to leave the house, that did come and get Gideon and give me a moment to breathe, and not feel the pressures. I had a great village that did that for me when I was going through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as men, especially, a lot of times we don't accept help, or we'll accept superficial help. We'll accept, oh, okay, yeah, you can bring some food over. Okay, cool. But we don't accept somebody sitting down with us because again, we're built to be islands.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, number four, yeah, don't be afraid to accept help because you need to. You can't carry this alone. So
Yeah, so true.
that that those would be that's what I normally would tell a man
Mm-hmm.
in that moment.
Okay. And Will, come on, shut us down. You unmuted. Unmute.
Well, what I would do is, if I seen a guy that had our book and he was like, his dog is out,
Mm-hmm.
I would sit down beside him and tell him, look, I know where you at. I know what you're feeling. I'm like, you holding in your book all these different men that went through the same thing you're going through, and they found a way out. I said, now I done been down this road, and I sat down in this hole, and I know it's dark down here, but I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do. If you trust me, I'm gonna take your hand and I'm gonna show you the way out of this until you can stand on your own and you can let God guide you the way you're trying to go. Because
Mm-hmm.
I can only take you so far, but you're gonna have to walk the rest of the way alone and let God and just trust and let him know that he got you, because I'll be there for you. Certain steps, they show you the right way to go to get out of this hole. But once you get out the hole, you got to let God do the rest. And you just got to hold on, because it's going to happen, and it's going to happen in different ways. You don't know how it's going to happen. You don't know where your help going to come from or what's going to take place, but it's going to fall in order. And you're going to be way better than where you are right now sitting in this spot. And if he can do that, then he gonna make it. You know what I'm saying? Because all he got to do is just read what we all talk about. Look at all our stories. Know that we went through the same exact thing. You know what I'm saying? We felt that moment where we was at the brink, where we was down and out. We thought we, you know what I'm saying, won't gonna make it. But look at where we at now. We made it.
Mm-hmm.
It was at that moment. So we got out of the hole. We got out of the pit. And I just tell them, just hold on and get ready, because I'm gonna show you how to do this. It ain't gonna be hard. It ain't gonna be easy, but You'll survive it. You know what I'm saying? I got
Yeah.
you. Cause like I tell all my friends, anybody I meet, when I shake your hand and say I'm your friend, I'm your friend. I don't change. I don't switch up. I don't turn my back on you. Even if a friend turning back on me, I'm still a friend. I just give them the space that they need. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
then once they see that there's a void missing out of their life because I ain't in it, then they'll realize that they messed up. And then, but then again, I'm gone and I ain't coming back. You know what I'm saying? I'm not walking backwards for nobody. So either you with me, you walk with me and keep walking, or you go your way. I'm going mine, but I'm going straight. You can go all the corners you want. And
Right.
so it's like that. You know, I'll help a person wherever they need to go and do. I'll help them, but it's only but so far I can get them. They got to stand on their own sooner or later. They're going to have to, give it to God. You know what I'm saying? Like we all had to do it.
Right.
We all had to just say, you know what, I can't take it. I mean, and just turn it over to God. God, what do you have me to do? You know what I'm saying? So I'm
Mm-hmm.
just going through the little doors that God opened. Like I said, I tell people this, the little doors. You know what I'm saying? Just the little steps. And he take it step by step, and he taking me step by step. I don't know everything right. I don't cross every T or dot every I all the time. Sometimes I make mistakes. I fall in pits, but I jump back out and I be like, okay, start me back over. And I got to repent for it and ask God for forgiveness and move on. You
Right.
know, got to keep going forward. So that's the way you
Mm-hmm.
got to live. And he'll get out of it, but he just got to trust it and open up and say, I need the help. That's the first.
Mm-hmm.
He got to admit that he is in a situation and he got to ask for the help. And you trust the right person or trust me or trust and one of these guys, they'll show him the way out of it. They all been through it. They know the routine. They know the
Mm-hmm.
way to get out there and
Right.
stand on it, you know what I'm saying? Stand on two toes down and be ready to go. That's all
Mm-hmm.
it is. You just gotta be ready. Cause somebody gonna help you. You just gotta be willing to accept the help like Damon said, and then just walk by faith. Just
Yeah.
know we don't know it all. You know what I'm saying? We don't know everything.
Mm-hmm.
I just walk every day and just trust that something gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people ask me, how well the book doing? I said, I don't know. I ain't worried about the book. I said, I'm worried about the people and what we trying to get across.
Yes.
God gonna take care of the book. I said, I'm doing what God want me to do. He want me to. He said, speak about Him and talk about Him in, all over the world. Different lands. That's what we
Mm-hmm.
do.
Mm-hmm.
We go wherever God lead us. Wherever somebody say, hey, they need you on here, we going. We gonna talk about it because see, we ain't getting the glory for it. God getting the glory for it. You know what I mean? We ain't
Mm-hmm.
getting it. He getting it. So that's
Mm-hmm.
the way it goes. Wherever He leads us, that's where we gonna go. So I'm just walking. That's all I'm doing. I'm just walking. That's it. So He can jump on the train and walk with me, or because I can't sit in the hole with Him. I can tell you that. I've been in that hole. I ain't sitting in there no more.
You know, I just want to say, this has been probably one of the best shows that I've had. Being able to sit and talk with, men that are willing to share their vulnerable places, how they came out of their holes, how do they deal with the losses that they had, just going through just life as a full blooded, thoroughbred man. Okay. It's not, I can't say at one point it wasn't often that you would see men in the open having conversations like this. They'll talk amongst each other, with people that they trust and different things like that. So I want to say thank you for allowing me to have this conversation with each of you on this evening. I know we got another interview coming up next week with Tony. So I am enjoying hearing, just your journey, your stories, your testimonies, the trials that you've overcome. I appreciate you all for your time. Thank you for your transparency. Thank you for your advice, just being real. Just, coming, not putting on a fake, not being, putting up a facade, putting no mask on, this is me. This is Will. This is Damon. This is Jay. This is DeQuincy. This is who you see is what you get. We are God-led men that's out here living this thing called life to the best of our ability. And without him, we ain't nowhere without him. So again, thank you all so much. I appreciate, again, your time, because y'all could have been doing sub meals with y'all time tonight. But thank you for setting this time out to be right here on the Fly Show. Don't go nowhere, but I'm finna close out. Y'all stick with me for a second, just a second, gentlemen. But for each of you that has tuned in with us here on the Fly Show, where the Fly stands for First Love You, I want to thank each and every one of you for being with me here every single week, every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, on whether you catch me on Facebook, whether you see me on Instagram or YouTube. Thank you all so much for all of my subscribers. Make sure you continue to like, share. Make sure you share this interview on tonight, because there are so many men that need to know that it is okay to just be. You don't have to put on a fake. You don't have to put on airs. You don't have to be square shouldered, head back all the time. It is okay to be open. It is okay to be vulnerable. It is okay to be honest. But most importantly, make sure it is with somebody that you trust. So if you ain't got nobody in your circle that you can trust, take that circle down to a dot and rebuild that thing back up. All right. But make sure you all catch me back here next Thursday with another author of Men Grieve Too, y'all. It's going to get deeper and deeper and deeper. Next week, we're going to have none other than Mr. Tony Lynch. I can't wait for you all to hear the interview that I've had with him. It is amazing. The talk gets a little bit deeper, y'all. So make sure you all catch us back here next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And remember to first love you, because you absolutely deserve it. Y'all have a good night.
Jesus, have your way.
Well, gotta open up your heart so the Holy Spirit can't dwell in it. Ain't leaving room for no